Forward on the Leninist path. That was the banner 40 years ago, right behind me. It was 1985. And the very first big political event that happened here was the 13th Party Congress of the Hungarian Communists. So you had red flags draped on the wall, Lenin's face looking down at the audience. You had communists sitting in your seats, almost like in the European Parliament. And they were ready for a class struggle. But we, freedom-loving patriots, had other plans. And we reclaimed our nation, we reclaimed our culture, and here we are today, from all over the world, patriots, in the very same room where once Marxist ideology echoed. And that's why this panel is so important, because we need to reclaim our nation, and we need to go back to common sense. Because the old communists are gone, but there are new ideologues. Now they call themselves experts, not comrades. Now, they no longer preach class struggle, but they talk about climate hysteria, gender ideology, open borders. But here we are, and we need a return to common sense in European foreign policy, in European energy policy, and also in our values, because we need to defend Judeo-Christian heritage of the Western world. So please join me in welcoming our panelists, 3 patriots from the US, from Italy, and Poland. So please join me on this path, not the Leninist one. Let's begin. Marcin, let me start with you, because you're in a very special situation here in Hungary. You're a political refugee. I mean, we're in the European Union, and we hear horrifying stories from Poland. Constitutional court decisions are canceled, basically. The political opposition is basically terrified. Police is going after them. They wanted to arrest you, they're going after the media. So please tell us your personal story, and what does it mean for Poland's democracy?
Yeah, actually, I can agree that being a political refugee nowadays in the 21st century in the center of Europe is something special or specific. But first of all, let me thank you that I have the possibility to participate in this remarkable event for the second time. I have been in Budapest in CPAC 2022, and I would like also express my deep gratitude to the Hungarian government, Hungarian friends, for granting me the legal protection, because it's in fact legal protection against political smear campaign, against situation in which we don't have the possibility to access a fair trial. We have to deal with manipulation of judicial panels in political cases. My case personally was connected to the so-called Justice Fund. I was in that time Deputy Minister of Justice. Now I'm a Member of Parliament, actually the first Member of Parliament who was granted political asylum after a fall of communism in Poland. And as a deputy minister, I was responsible for a justice fund. It means for financing projects, organizing a system for victims of crimes, of prevention, and I think it's very important to say that even the illegal Polish prosecutor's office do not accuse me of corruption or any financial benefits. Actually, the only benefit I got, it was a real statement during a trial in Warsaw. The prosecutor admits asking what does it mean actually a personal benefit, and it was a satisfaction as me, as a Christian, as a conservative, it was a satisfaction of providing financiation for projects of the same character, so Christian and conservative. And of course, there was a huge amount of procedural irregularities, just to say it very mild. For example, I was detained against international law because I was the member of Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, and the prosecutor's office arrested me without the permission. So even the president of the assembly, who is a colleague of Donald Tusk from the same European People's Party, had to intervene, so I was released. Of course, manipulation of judicial panels, and first of all, the characteristic of charges which are without any evidence, but not only that, they are I could admit as a lawyer, as an academic teacher, they are really absurd. I will not explain everything, it will be too long, I think, but just one or two examples. So, for example, I am accused of influencing the decision of committees. The problem was, and the problem is, that the committees do not make any decision. The decision maker was me.
Right.
So, and another example, the majority of charges concerned or based on the justification that I acted without competences. The reasoning was that the minister granted me the competences not by the new competence ordinance, but by amending the existing one. You know, I was thinking some days, what is going on? What do they mean? Because if first year law students on my exam would say such a thing, they would fail. But what was the reason? The reason was just to annulate the projects which are agreed in that time. And curiously, there was 8 projects. 6 of them were not liberal, so they were cancelled. But 2 liberal projects were not. So it shows that it was actually, everything was meant as some kind of, weaponizing justice system against conservative politicians. I was responsible for pushing back woke ideology in the Ministry of Justice, but at the same time weaponizing justice system against NGOs, social activists who are conservative, Christian, and who oppose the globalist agenda.
Right. No, and I think some of the examples you mentioned, I mean, this is lawfare, and I think we saw something similar in the United States.
Yes, and in fact, I wanted to interject, if I may. I'm
Sure.
honored to be here with my colleague, Marcin, because he is continuing to bravely fight. And what I learned when I was writing my book, Last Warning to the West, about Hungary, I talked to a historian at the House of Terror, and I learned about the communist show trials. And you know, I was kind of stupid about it. I didn't understand, if they had the power, if the Soviets had the power, why do they have to do a trial, a mock trial? And he said to me, Shea, because then the public believes they're guilty. and the public goes against them, and it bleeds them dry of resources and the will to fight. And President Trump went through 4 indictments and show trials in the same way. So I just wanted to say thank you, Marcin, for bravely fighting.
Thank you. Shea, if I may, you mentioned your book. You came to Hungary. You saw what we did with conservative governance and what we achieved. You brought that knowledge back to the US. So why do you think that this model, Hungarian model, could be an example to today's global challenges?
It's a huge example, and thank you to the Center for publishing the book, Last Warning to the West. The thing that really stuck out to me, Magor, is that when I was interviewing Hungarians for the book, many of them said to me, Shea, Americans don't remember what it's like not to be free. And I said, that's true. We don't remember that. But the thing that scared me was that, this was during the Biden administration, they said, you understand the rhetoric coming out of the Biden administration, the actions that are being taken are very much reminding us of our Soviet era. So that was kind of a kick in the gut to me. And I decided then to take the story about Hungary's history, 1,000 years of trying to keep your national identity, take that story to America to explain that we were so close to being turned over to a communistic-like government. I mean, we could talk about that for an hour, and I can prove that. And the European Union, Magor, is doing the exact same thing. You know, the Iron Curtain came down, but the EU is still trying to centrally plan their nation states.
That's exactly right. And I think we saw something similar also against Mr. Salvini. And now turning to the Italian case, because you have another conservative government in the European Union besides Hungary, what is your experience so far? What were you able to deliver on the conservative agenda in the past years?
First of all, thanks. Thanks also to Mykolos Santos to have organized again such a very important meeting for us, global meeting for conservatives. For, let's say, from Italy, we can say that the Italian conservative government is very strong. We work a lot for our values, but my friends, we need your support. We need to stay together, unified together, much more in order to push on our value. By ourselves, only Italy alone cannot do anything. That's my first, let's say, input. We work quite well. I said the Italian government is quite strong, but we have a lot of problems. From my point of view, the first problem that we have is the European Union. I mean, we always say that we are for a unified Europe. Unified Europe is essential to deal with our problems that we will have, global problems that we will have, and we are actually have. I mean China and so on. But we want a European Union of nations. We want a European Union of people. We don't want a socialist European Union. We don't want a globalist European Union. We don't want a European Union of a super state. We want a European Union unified, strong, promoting all the population, all the nation, all the European nation. We need to stay together to push our traditional value. I mean, let's say, if we don't know our history, if we don't know our value, for us it will be impossible also to build a strong future for our people. So again, stay together.
Thank you so much. As I was coming here, I saw a slogan. It said, leave reality behind. I think the European Commission could have that motto, right?
Yes. Let's say, such a European Commission is like, as Shea said, socialist, or maybe we can say communist. Because they, without being elected, because European Commission is not elected, and they push so much such European directives, and they say, oh, these directives is for helping European people, but they don't know which are the problems. And most probably, they don't know the solution of the problems. Very often, the European directives are not the solution, a good solution for the European problems. I mean, Green New Deal, stop of the combustion engine in 2035. I mean, a lot of directives stopping the business for agricultural people, people making, let's say, some particular stuff like milk. We had a lot of problems with milk workers in Italy some years ago because European directives. So they provide such European directives from the top, like in the Communist Party, just for let's say, helping the people. And they don't know the problem, and most probably they don't know the solution. So we want to fight
and trampling over
such
sovereignty.
Socialist, or maybe we can say communist ideology.
Marcin, how do you see the EU institutions enabling all these bad things happening in Poland? Because they had a rule of law procedure against Poland during the previous government, but I haven't heard anything from them this time around.
Exactly. That is a good point, because we in the Hungarian-Polish Freedom Institute say that Polish is actually a battleground, a laboratory for globalists. So the problem we are facing already are, of course, very strong, but they are the same problems typical for other countries in Europe, for Hungary. You know, the blackmail regarding the European funds was directed against Poland, but also Hungary. But what I just wanted to say is that the globalists in such countries like Poland, Hungary, could win the general elections, the parliamentary elections, only through liars, manipulations, and blackmail. In Italy as well. So we should be aware that we have to deal with a real global European, not only European, but we could say the Soros money also in influencing justice system in the United States. But if you see, it's the same money. They are the same organizations. We saw it during that presidential elections in Poland, that the same organization were financing or organizing illegal, in fact, a smear campaign against conservative politicians in Poland this year, but 2023 as well, 2022 in Hungary, in Italy, in Spain. And we have to be aware that what was prepared for Hungary for 2022 was introduced, I mean, the militant democracy in Poland. But if we see the statement of Peter Magyar, Hungarian leader of the opposition, he will follow the example of Donald Tusk. And what does it mean? Exactly. Inhuman treatment of ordinary people in temporary arrests. Introduced hate speech regulations, which is in fact censorship, and so on and so on. But finally, I think the most important conclusion is that if we deal with the same money, same decision-making processes, so they should pay back the bills to Brussels.
Yeah. Thank you. You mentioned Peter Magyar, and that brings me to another topic, Ukraine. Shea, you were a very early proponent of a ceasefire and peace negotiations, already back in 2022. What do you think, where the process stands now? And obviously we see the efforts of President Trump to bring peace to our region. What's your take on that?
Yes, and as you know, I had the honor of hosting an event for Foreign Minister Sciarto in Washington, D.C. in 2022, talking about why peace in Ukraine was so important, because we knew 3 years later that this was a senseless war, that there was no military solution, and hundreds of thousands of people would be killed, and this has happened. And to answer your question, Magor, right now it's very frustrating, and I don't know where this is going, because every effort that President Trump has made to bring Putin and Zelensky to the table is being thwarted, quite honestly, by the European Union. You know, probably the biggest, most current example was Chancellor Merz saying that Ukraine could fire German long-range missiles deep into Russia. This is extremely dangerous escalatory behavior that could bring us into a wider war if we continue in this way. So I've become a bit frustrated where we are, and I think that President Trump is as well, so perhaps he will step this up a little bit. But all the reasons that we were told that we must fight this war, through the European Union, you know, for democracy. Zelensky is not a democratic leader. I'm sorry, he's corrupt. Russia would continue to come into NATO. That is not true either. And we knew this, as you said, in 2022.
Yes. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is up. So thank you for our panelists, and we look forward to having you here. Thank you.